breaking news here in Mississippi on July 1st, the day that all the new laws that were passed this past legislative session go into effect. A federal judge has halted the Walker-Montgomery Protecting Children Online Act from taking effect. We're going to take a look at the news story, and then we're going to circle back to exactly who Walker Montgomery was, what happened to him, and why it should be a huge red flag for all parents to allow their children to have social media and to even have their phones in their rooms after hours. First, let's go over to Magnolia Tribune and get an update on the story. This is by Frank Quarter at magnoliatribune.com. The U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Mississippi has granted an injunction in the case challenging the new law known as the Walker-Montgomery Protecting Children Online Act. Mississippi lawmakers passed legislation this year in unanimous bipartisan votes in both chambers. It requires social media platforms to make reasonable efforts to prevent or mitigate children's exposure to potentially harmful content while using the platforms. Governor Tate Reeves, Republican, signed the bill in late April, and it was set to take effect today, July 1st. The case, NetChoice versus Fitch, Lynn Fitch is the Attorney General here in Mississippi, stems from the trade association's challenge to the new Mississippi law that claims the legislation violates citizens' constitutionally protected rights, endangers their online privacy and security, and thwarts their rights to make decisions for their family as they deem appropriate. The law would, I'm going to skip forward here, the law would have required parents to basically sign a permission slip for their minor children to be online and their minor children to verify their age and identity to have social media accounts, a la Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, X, etc. Continuing on. The U.S. District Court granted the preliminary injunction as the case moves forward, stating that NetChoice challenge has, quote, carried its burden of showing a substantial likelihood of success on the merits of its claim. Quote, in sum, because the court finds that the plaintiff, NetChoice LLC, has carried its burden of showing substantial likelihood of success on the merits of its claim that the act is unconstitutional under a First Amendment facial challenge and, alternatively, the 14th Amendment vagueness challenge. It will grant the motion for preliminary injunction without requiring security, wrote Judge Halil Suleyman Ozerden. I'm sure I butchered that name. Judge Ozerden went on to write that it is not lost on the court the seriousness of the issue the legislation was attempting to address, nor does the court doubt the good intentions behind the enactment of HB 1126. But as the Supreme Court has held, a law that is content-based on its face is subject to strict scrutiny, regardless of the government's benign motive. Ozerden states, that is a high bar, which at this preliminary stage of the proceedings, plaintiffs have shown the act likely does not meet. As such, Attorney General Lynn Fitch and her office preliminary enjoined from enforcing the new law against NetChoice and its members, which include Amazon, Google, YouTube, Snap, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, X, and other prominent online platforms. Chris Marchese, director of NetChoice Litigation Center, expressed his pleasure with the injunction, saying, an unconstitutional law will protect no one. Quote, we're pleased the court sided with the First Amendment and stopped Mississippi's law from censoring online speech, limiting access to lawful information, and undermining user privacy and scrutiny as our case proceeds, said Marchese. We look forward to seeing the law struck down permanently. Marchese said if the law was to take effect, it would mandate age and identity verification for digital services, which undermines privacy and stifles the free exchange of ideas. Look, I'm not going to read all that. You can go to magnoliatribune.com. It's one of their top stories. Look, at the end of the day, it would require parents to know exactly what their kids were doing online. It stemmed from a very sad situation of sextortion here in the state of Mississippi a couple years back. A young man up in the Starkville area by the name of Walker Montgomery was blackmailed after sending some inappropriate pictures or videos to somebody he was talking to in a chat online. I never did quite figure out what website it was he was on, whether it was Snapchat or whatever. He sent the videos. He was then immediately told if he don't give these people $1,000, they're going to share it with everybody in his contacts. And they start sending these fake texts that look like they had sent it to friends. The last text of which being his mother. And he said, well, I might as well just kill myself. And they said, well, you're already dead, so go ahead. And he went and got a gun out of his dad's safe and did just that. Very, very sadly. We got the video here from WLBT from the original story. I'm going to play that uninterrupted without any of my commentary. I've given y'all my opinion on it, or I'll give y'all my opinion on all of this at the end of it, should I say. Here we go.
Old. You know that, and maybe you've even warned your kids about it. But have you heard about a growing problem called sextortion? More families than you realize are dealing with it, even right here in Mississippi. Given the sensitive nature of the crime, not everyone is willing to speak up. One family is, though, and hoping you'll listen closely. Walker Montgomery turned 16 on November 1st. The last day of that month was a normal one for his family. After school, Walker worked out in the family barn while his dad and brother hunted. They had family dinner as usual, and his mom said prayers with he and his younger brother before bed. The next part of this story is one his dad, Brian Montgomery, has had to piece together since that day.
Around midnight, Walker received a message through Instagram from somebody he didn't know.
The conversation started off innocent enough. On the other end of the chat, a girl around his age, he thought, even referencing mutual friends. But it eventually took a different turn with a request for a video chat through Instagram.
Sexual encounter occurs, and Walker didn't know it, but they were recording this on their side with another device. So Walker didn't know. He had no idea that he was being recorded.
They told him they'd release it if he didn't pay $1,000.
They immediately went to, we're going to destroy your life. Your life is over. Everybody love is going to disown you. I mean, Mountain was built immediately in front of Walker. They were continually saying, we need the money, this will stop if you get us the money. I don't have any money is what Walker's telling them. I live in the country, I live in the middle of nowhere. Just leave me alone, please.
Phone records show it's the first time Walker ever interacted with this profile, but over the course of 2 hours, it would be his last.
But then they start sending screenshots where they've got the video in the screenshot and in a message that they're sending it to people that Walker knows in his friend list. They'd never seen any of those messages as far as we know.
They're just making it look like it.
They're making it look like it, right?
He begged them to stop. The last contact it looked like they shared it with, his mom.
And after that responds with, I'm just going to kill myself. And just as heartless as you can imagine, they said, well, go ahead because you're already dead anyway. I went in the safe, he got my handgun and went back upstairs. And at some point during that time, he took his own life.
They found him the next morning. As you might imagine, there were a lot of questions. His dad knew where the answers would probably lie.
The answer's going to be in the phone. It's got to be.
Waiting for those answers, they grieved all through the Christmas season with their faith guiding them. The case was initially handled by the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office.
At the same time, Starkville Police Department understood there were several kids in Starkville that had been victimized for this as well within the last 6-8 months.
And eventually the FBI got involved.
I'm not exactly sure who nailed it down at some point, but it originated from the warrant they sent to Instagram that says, okay, the IP address of this person is here. Literally they know what residence these people are at. We know that it came from Nigeria. We know that the vast majority of these things that are happening, this particular scheme is originating out of Nigeria.
Through his loss, Brian Montgomery is finding a new mission, sharing Walker's story in hopes that other families hear it and make a big change, potentially saving their child's life.
I want to make sure that the pain we've suffered amounts to somebody else's gain. That's the goal.
FBI Jackson Field Office Special Agent in Charge Jamaica Fomby can't talk specifics of any case, but he did want to sit down to share with you that these cases are increasingly common.
All right, so we don't have to watch the rest of that. There is a part in here where the father gives a little bit of advice, just telling parents to, let's see here, just telling parents to take the phones from your kids at nighttime. Yeah, right here. I think this is really worth hearing before we get out of here.
Is not prevented from recurring.
Brian Montgomery isn't an official, but he is a dad, and this is what he'd change if he could go back to those early morning hours of December 1st.
What I should have never done is let my son have his phone by himself at night. And if I was speaking to a parent, that's exactly what I would tell them. Listen, that's something you can do today. Your kids are going to buck that. They're going to resist that. Send them to this interview and look at me. Say, look at this dad. Look at this family. This is worth it. Your life is worth it.
All right, man. Heartbreaking story there. So that was the bill that was struck down federally today, or at least an injunction against it today. We'll see how it shakes out. I'm personally conflicted on this from multiple standpoints. I have nothing but sympathy for this family and empathy. I don't know that it was avoidable. I mean, I don't know that this made it avoidable. Maybe it does. It's hard to put the things back in the box once they're out. I also hate anonymity. I have a big problem. If you've ever been stalked or harassed online by people with fake profiles, have you ever had people trying to cost you your job, cancel you, all these things, and they do it through anonymity and fake profiles? I have a big problem with that. And I think a bigger problem than children being online in adult spaces is adults being online in children's spaces pretending to be children. If you want to sell me on needing ID verification to get online, repackage it and sell it to me so we know damn adults aren't pretending to be kids to do what they did to this kid. That would be a big thing. I'm a fan of VPNs, but maybe they need to have a little more. I don't know. I can't stand government restrictions. I don't know. Sometimes it's just things are sad and there isn't an immediate fix for them. But I do have a problem with adults being online using fake profiles. I don't know that all of us having to show our IDs to get on Facebook is also the way to do it. I had to show mine for my blue check mark on all my website, on all my social media sites. So I don't know. It's a very complicated issue. Anytime you can do something to make a parent feel better, all the better. We banned squatted trucks here in Mississippi because a little girl lost her life because one of these guys ran them over when she was out playing by the road, allegedly. We went straight to banning squatted trucks. The sextortion stuff is terrible. I just can't imagine going through that. I don't mind adjusting things to try to make the parents feel better, to try to save future lives. I don't know what IDs to get online does. I'm very conflicted on this, as y'all can tell, because if you've ever dealt with online harassment and stalking, you see the need for it, but also see the need in people protecting their identities from crazy people. So there's no easy fix. Prayers for this family. It's got to be devastating. You get this and you think you got it done. They create a law in honor of your child to try to save other lives. And a federal judge, who's a very conservative judge, mind you, was appointed by George W. Bush. So take that for what it's worth. Prayers to the family. Y'all tune into the Clay Edwards Show Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., 103.9 FM, WYAB. If you like the shirt I'm wearing, vote felon, make liberals cry again. You can buy it at clayedwardsshow.com or my clothing website, buyfafo.com. We also have the shirts that match that skateboard back here and more. Every shirt comes with a free sticker. Buyfafo.com. I'll throw the website up on the screen here just one last time for you, and we will get out of here, and I will see you guys on the radio. As my buddy Kim Wade says, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Peace out.